Hello and welcome to Fear of the Unknown. I'm Barry, and this evening I'm going to run through the single player adventure for Call of Cthulhu that comes in the beginner's box, Alone Against the Flames. Unlike a traditional adventure, this is more of a choose your own adventure type thing, where choices you make and dice rolls you succeed or fail at determine what happens next in the story. You don't have quite the freedom you would with a keeper, but does introduce you to the basics of the game. It's part of a series of solo adventures in the Alone Against series for Call of Cthulhu, which includes Alone Against the Dark, Alone Against Halloween or something, and the recently republished Alone Against the Frost, which is self-updated Alone Against the Wendigo. I have played through Alone Against the Flames already. A while ago now. I did get quite a satisfactory ending as far as I recall. As far as satisfactory endings for Call of Cthulhu occur, but there were plenty of other choices to be made, plenty of other dice rolls to succeed or fail at, and maybe get a slightly different adventure this time round. There's enough there to play 2-3 times without too much repetition, I think. Before I get into it, if you don't know anything about Call of Cthulhu, it is a role-playing game. You take on the role of an investigator who's out to solve some sort of mystery, usually mythos-based. And the mythos is H.P. Lovecraft's and sort of peers and the people that came after him. And this grand cosmic scheme of things, and how insignificant we are and how we can never know what's going on around us. So expect some sort of spoopy elements to the story as well, not just a straightforward find the clues, get your man type thing. And the game itself requires, if you've never played a role-playing game before, in order to generally the story progresses, but whenever there's a point of contention between yourself and the game, or you want to do something that's risky, not guaranteed success, you will make a roll against your stats, and in this game your stats are a number between 1 and 100. It's a percentile system. You will roll for you roll a d100, it's a 100-sided dice, and compare it to your number in that corresponding statistic. So for example, if I wanted to shoot a gun, I have a 20% chance of hitting somebody. I would roll a 100-sided dice. If it was 20 or less, I would succeed. Tests can be hard. There might be a disadvantage. Somebody's running away from you in the dark. That can become a hard check, in which case you have to get half your value. So I'm trying to shoot somebody from a distance in the dark. I would have to get 10 or less, 10% chance, and he could be ducking behind a barrel or rounding the corner from 200 yards away, and all I've got is a derringer that I've pulled out my sock, and I have to try and hit him, and that could be an extreme success, which is 1/5 of the value. So again, if it's 20, 1/5 of that is 4%, so I have only if I roll 1, 2, 3, 4 do I succeed. Hopefully that makes sense, but if you're brand new to the game, this is the first thing you're going to do in the box anyway, so hopefully it'll become apparent as we go through and kind of create our stats. Feel free to you can't really influence my decisions after the fact, and I'm not streaming this, I'm just kind of recording it. I will be streaming perhaps a future Alone series for people to join me on and help me make decisions. Let me have a little sip of water. Cool, so hopefully that makes sense. You can follow along. If you've never played an RPG before, this might be quite familiar to you. If you've played a fighting fantasy novel or a choose your own adventure novel. Novels? Are they novels? Novelettes at best. Booklets. Leaflets. Before I get started, just a shout out to a couple of people. First of all, shout out to Leisure Games and Bits and Mortar. So couple of days ago, I purchased Alone Against Frost, which has kind of inspired me to come back and revisit this one. I've not yet been to pick up the physical copy, but thanks to a scheme they have with Bits and Mortar, they will email you the PDF. Now, I also bought the starter set, which is where Alone Against the Flames comes from, and the PDF came along, almost as soon as I'd completed the purchase by the time I got home. So shout out to everybody that's kind of involved in that scheme. If you're bored at home, you can always make a purchase from one of these retailers that is involved in that scheme, and you can get the PDF version even before you get the physical version. Second shout out is going to be to Tabletop Audio, tabletopaudio.com. They've got a whole bunch of sort of tunes and sound effects and stuff that you can play and stream, add a little bit of depth to what's going on. Great for your normal RPG sessions. For me, give me just a little bit of something to listen to that isn't my voice, and hopefully just add a little bit of depth, a little bit of texture to kind of what we're going on in the adventure today. Last thing, I'm not entirely sure how long this is going to last. Maybe hour and a half, something like that. It is 8:30 just now for me, so if I can get done by sort of 10 o'clock, that'd be great. Yeah, let's get on with it, kind of thing. So scroll down here. This gives you the whole introduction to the system, but here, in order to play, you just need a blank investigator sheet, which I have, and a pencil and some notepaper. All of this I have. So we are now ready to play Alone Against the Flames. Oh, itchy ear. Let's get some tunes on. Cool beans. So, the sun is high in the sky, a merciless ball of heat. You feel scorched by the time you reach the bus halt in the front of Osborne's drugstore. It's a relief to put down your heavy cases and take off your hat for a moment. You fan your face. It's been a long summer here in your hometown, and yet a curiously empty one. You look across the street at the grubby butcher's shop, the grocer's with its faded awning, and the shabby tobacconist. Mistrustful faces glare at you as they pass, eyeing your clothes and luggage. It was your parents' choice to live here, not yours. You were happy down south as a child, among Providence's white-walled houses and leafy churchyards. Perhaps this new job in Arkham will supply the change you need. Yet everybody you know in the world lives here. You know nobody in Arkham, not one soul. You ask yourself one last time if you're doing the right thing. The answer is here. None of your supposed friends have come to see you off. You are alone. Whatever challenges lie in Arkham, it will be a new life, and a brave one. A small grey motor coach approaches and rattles to a stop. You put your hat back on and pick up your cases. So, you'll see here, it then tells you where to go. So go to 263. The good thing about doing it in the PDF, whoa, takes you straight there. Fantastic. So, who's in this car? Two young men with sullen expressions alight from the coach. One looks you up and down before heading away. The driver also steps down, glancing at you before crossing the road to visit the tobacconist. When he returns, he's rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. He gives it a final twist and examines you as he reaches for his matchbox. He's a thin man in his 50s, dressed in a stained shirt with the bus company emblem. Yet his eyes are sharp in their dark sockets. Where to? You show him your ticket for Ossipee. From there you'll connect to Rochester and Portsmouth before the coastal line to Newburyport and finally, Arkham. You should be able to afford a rail ticket for at least some of the way, otherwise this will be the first of many long bus trips. The driver scratches the match and lights his cigarette. The end flares as he takes a draw. Then he exhales and gestures to the back of the coach. Luggage rack's up there. Don't know why he's like West Country in Arkham Town. Right, look at your investigator sheet. Sheet. Got 8 boxes. Allocate them in a 40, 50, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80. So, this is going to be the first thing that kind of changes every time you play this adventure. Points allocations, typical way of starting an investigator. You can roll for your stats, but in this case, let's just have a little think. So education's a huge part of this. Of Call of Cthulhu. If you have a low education, it kind of affects a lot of your other stats. So I'm going to... I would normally put 80 in there. That's a little bit of metagaming, right? So what kind of character do I want to play? Let's say I'm playing a... I don't know. I'll come back to it. Maybe this starts doing something. I'm going to put 70 in education. That makes sense. Power also affects your insanity. There'll be a lot of things where you're maybe going a little bit mad. So I'm going to put... I'll give myself 80 in power. So I'm relatively well educated. I'm moving to Arkham for a new job. Don't know what that is. I'm a firm believer in the sciences. Then I guess I'll give myself 50 in intelligence. I'll give myself an appearance of 50. Maybe that's why, you know, people don't like me so much. Not particularly charming. Size, I could be... No, let's be relatively large. I'll have 60 size and 60 constitution. So I've got another 50 and a 40 to do. Let's say I'm quite weak and moderately flexible there. So dexterity, things like shooting, bow and arrow, that kind of thing. And then strength of 40. So can't carry much, can't hold much. Now ordinarily you then have a whole bunch of derived stats from them, but the game's not made me do any of that yet. So I will move on. Right, so I'll put my luggage on the rack and go to 8. The driver smokes and watches as you drag your cases to the back of the motor coach. The rack is set inconveniently high on the vehicle. You get a grip on the heavier case. Right, so this is already affecting what I've done. So if your size is 40, go to 23, but if your size is higher than this, go to 38. So I've chosen a size of 60, I'll go to 38. The driver continues to enjoy his cigarette, watching with keen interest as you struggle with the cases. You grit your teeth and heave the second one into place. Perhaps the residents of Arkham will have better manners. 233. The driver flicks his cigarette into the gutter and steps into the motor coach. Its engine coughs into life. You board, grateful that you'll be the only passenger for the initial part of your trip at least. With mixed emotions, you watch from the window as the tired avenues of your old home slip behind you, receding into the distance. For a few minutes, you can still see the church spire over the brow of a low hill. Then the road dips, and it too is gone. Arkham is your new home. You'll travel there and make a new start. You'll see two small boxes. Oh yeah, right, so halves and thingy values. So 40, 20, what is a fifth of 48? Constitution, half is 30, a fifth is 12, 30, 12, 50, half is 25, a fifth is 10, 25, 10, 25, 10. Power, half is 40, a fifth of 80 is 15, 16? Wait, hold on, let's do the maths. 8 of 5, 51. Why can't I do the math on this? Yeah, 15. It's 15, right? And then 35 and 13 times 5 is... What is 13 times 5? 50, 65. So hold on, if that's 14, then 16's 80. No. Super mental maths for me. Right, and then the strips below. So your beginning sanity is equal to your power. That's why I've chosen a particularly high one. So that's 80. So that's my starting sanity. If you're using the interactive PDF, it will do all the math for you. I should have used that. Magic points are the same as the value for power divided by 5. So that's 16 magic points. Not that magic comes up very often. You'd have to be quite a bold keeper as well to incorporate magic significantly into your campaigns. And anything else to enter? The answer is no. So off to 134. So all this section is just really building up your character based on the stats that you put in. Oftentimes you roll for them, so other times it will be points allocation like this. Either fixed points allocation with 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80, or a total sort of maybe 420-ish points, 450 points to spend. So, 134. The coach putters through the countryside. At first, the interior is stifling and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. However, the driver opens his window, and by switching seats you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You soon relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves. A heavy-set woman boards at one of the settlement and gives you a polite nod. She gets off at the next one. The road rises a little, passing cornfields and orchards. The leaves are turning and the trees are alive with glorious reds and golds. You've just begun to doze and the driver takes a tight bend at speed. Right, so add your size and constitution and divide the total by 10. So it's 12 for me. This is your starting value for your hit points. So you're definitely going to get a punch or two in almost any adventure, or even if you just fall off a ledge or something. You also have a luck score. Roll 3 6-sided dice. So here I'll go in here. So let me delete you. Then I want 1, 2, 3. Roll 3 6-sided dice. 10. Then multiply that by 5 to get my beginning luck. So it's 50 luck. Pretty average. 50, 55 would have been about the right number. And now you must make a roll against your dexterity. Okay, so now I want to roll a D100. So almost every check in this game is a percentile check. So it's a D100 against the value that you have for that skill. So I'm making a dexterity roll. So my dexterity is 50. It's a standard value. So I just need to make the roll, and I want the number here to come in 50 or less. 94. That is not quite a critical fail, but it was very close to a critical fail. I failed the roll. Fine. Go to 59. A desperate yell awakens you. You feel yourself slide from the seat as the driver spins the wheel and the motor coach plunges off the road. Too late, you reach for the seat in front. You fall into the aisle and your ribs crash against the edge of the seat opposite. Breath rushes out of you. The coach stops with a thump. Your driver leaps from his seat into the road. As you sprawl, dizzy, in the aisle, you hear a string of incendiary curses. The driver climbs back into the cab and sees you on the floor. He looks concerned and assists you back into your seat, and you see what has happened now. A forcing tractor has stopped in the road and he had to swerve to avoid the steel obstacle. Sorry, he says, all them fields and he has to pick the road to park. You alright? You don't think anything's broken, but you'll have a colourful bruise for the next few days. He backs the coach up a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. You lost 1 hit point in the accident. Okay, so now I need to mark... where's my hit points here? 12. So... I put a line under my starting hit points and then a circle around my current ones. If you drop to 0 hit points, you fall unconscious. There's some sort of serious injury type charts. I don't think you get into it in the solo game. But in the normal game, if you take a massive hit, it can be much worse than just losing hit points. Right, now go to 71. You resume your journey. The driver takes the curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple of times. Sorry about before, he says. That fella was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. What's your name? Oh, too many there. But the accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's. But it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonise the man while he's driving you through the middle of nowhere. Right, make up a name for your character and record it on your investigator sheet. Also choose an age between 23 and 36. So let's just stick in the middle for that one. So that is 59. So 29. Let's just say 30. 29 and a half. Very important when you get to that age. And then I need to make up a name. So let's just do fake name generator. And I wish to be a random gender from America, Edward Lindstrom. That's not a bad name, as far as names go. If you're an Edward Lindstrom, you should feel very proud. Right, the coach turns onto a narrower road, which weaves uphill through woodlands. Silas becomes chatty. Going to Arkham, eh? Can't say I've ever heard of the place. Went to Boston once. Didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. You got family there? Assessor someone waiting? The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. A job, eh? What's your line? Okay, so now we need to choose a job. So I said I was relatively well educated and had a strong presence of mind. Why might I go to Arkham? An antiquarian? Would I get into that in a sort of sleepy town? Antiquarian? Maybe, maybe not. Journalist? Journalists go into a big city. Would kind of make some sense. A doctor of medicine? Doesn't seem too bad. Not quite smart enough, I think, for that. Private investigator or professor. Alright, if I had free choice, probably wouldn't pick any of these. But let's think. I mean, a private investigator? Again, how would I get into that in a small town? I think we'll go with a journalist. Does that make sense? Yeah, like believe what I see, things I can find out. Quite inquisitive, quite smart. So, 239. You mentioned the reporter's job, which you secured at the Arkham Gazette on the strength of a few freelance pieces in your local newspaper. It'll be a relief to get away from the vapid society columns and whimsical stories. You understand the Gazette covers everything from the breakthrough of researchers at Miskatonic University to the most sordid exploits of local ne'er-do-wells. It should be something to get your teeth into at any rate. A writer? For a newspaper? Silas seems confused, as if he somehow thought the stories wrote themselves. Right, your credit skill rating is 20%, so credit rating starts at 20, so that makes me relatively poor as far as things go. My occupation skills are arts and craft, photography. Let me just write that down. History. Let me just underscore my main ones here. History. Library use. Might seem like a rubbish skill. Very useful in Call of Cthulhu. Own language, English. Or American. Psychology. Kind of makes sense of what I'm saying for my character. And one of either charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade. So I'm getting the vibe that I'm a little melancholy leaving this place, not made a lot of friends. So I guess charm, probably not. Fast talk, intimidate, or persuade. Maybe persuade's a good one to have. And then you can pick any other two skills as personal specialties. So, in a main game, lots of things that are useful. Certainly spot hidden's a skill that is not exactly overpowered, but means you won't miss anything, right? Anything in adventure is really there for you to find. So I'm going to make spot hidden, because that's kind of goes with the investigative journalism type piece I want to go for. And then looking through some of my other skills, maybe... I don't think fighting's useful. Anthropology, not so much. Climbing. Disguise? Could I be a sneaky sneak? I guess coming from a small town, everybody would know me though, so that doesn't make much sense. Drive auto could be useful. I don't recall a lot of driving in this adventure though. What if I took listen? Listen's a good skill to have for a journalist as well, right? Even doing interviews, being able to overhear things perhaps I shouldn't. And then I can allocate the following values, same or pretty close to the same as my characteristics. So, photography, I don't think were photojournalists like a big thing? Certainly photojournalists I don't think were a thing, but would journalists take their own photographs in the 1920s? I don't know, so I'm just going to put that as one of my lowest skills there. So I'm going to do 40. Then coming down, can't change my credit rating. History, yeah, I'm going to take a 50 in history. Probably know my local history quite well. My language own is the same as my education, so it's 70. Then library use, definitely going to have a lot of research in there. I'll put that as 60. Listen, I'll put that as... so it's got a base value of 20, but in this, ordinarily if you were adding numbers to it, you would add it to the base value. In this case, it's just a flat value, so I don't need to worry too much about it. I'll do another 40 for listen. Persuade, I'll take another 50. Psychology, I'll take my other 6. No, I'll take 70 for that, and I'll take a 60 for spot hidden. Okay, so that makes sense. So 40, 40, 50, 50. Oh no, 50. Sorry, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70. Let me just work out again. 40, 40. Check. 50, 50. Should have one more 50. 60, 60. 70. So it's really language own. Okay, so I'd have to choose my own language here. So I'll take psychology 50, and that just keeps it. It just keeps it accurate with the actual stats, where it should be the same as your education. Fine, then go to 128. 128. You realise Silas hasn't made a stop since the incident with the tractor. Your motor coach winds its way uphill. However, your thoughts are interrupted as the road crests a ridge and you are treated to a magnificent view of the vista below. A creek snakes through the valley, breaking the rich autumn palette of the tree line. In the distance, the white mountains rise into hazy cloud. There's no settlement, not even a cabin as far as the eye can see. Birds drift through the treetops, and you can just make out what might be 2 white-tailed deer lingering by the water. Perhaps you're making a mistake by moving to the city. Could you survive on your own in this lush wilderness? Probably not. You have a base ability and most skills listed in brackets. Oh, you have a base ability and most skills listed in brackets after the name of the skill on the investigator sheet. Yeah, fine. Choose 4 skills, which are personal interest, and boost by 20. And then you put in the half and the thingy values for them all. So personal skills, saying you know, survival, swim, natural world, those kind of things. I'll tell you what, let's take natural world as a bonus skill here. And that'll put me up to 30. Then, what if I was also interested in the fast talk? No. Anthropology, people? Nah, I don't fancy that either. Archaeology, nah. Drive auto. You know what, I'm going to take drive auto because I'd almost certainly drive. Boost that by 20 points. Then. Locksmith, have I ever Jimmy the lock get into somewhere? Yeah, I'm going to take locksmith as well. Probably have. And then I get a 4th skill, is that right? Choose 4 skills. So 1, 2, 3. Jump? Pilot? Definitely not pilot. Ride, what's that? Horses. Could take a science. Might want a science. Might want a survival skill. I'm going to take sleight of hand. Maybe I've had to lift a wallet or 2 in my time. And then calculate half and 1/5, but I'll do that as it goes. And go to 144. Right, the motor coach rattles on through the hills and Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view. A settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Ossipee, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop while you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognise and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from a rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. Right, so now I can make a test to help out here. If I choose Drive Auto, which I did take, just a normal success, and if it was Psychology, a hard success. So my Drive Auto skill's 40, my Psychology skill's 50, but if I rolled against Psychology, I would need to get 25, so my better choice is Drive Auto. In a real game, this situation might come up. The keeper might ask you, which your stats is better, what you're more likely to recognise. Alternatively, if you have an idea and tell the keeper, I think something's wrong with the vehicle, can I figure out what it is, then he would ask you to make a check against the Drive Auto skill. In this game, it's not free-flowing in quite the same way, so the game kind of forces you down the path. So back to the dice here. So I want a 40 or less, 16, boom. And in fact that is a hard success. I would have passed on Psychology as well, didn't matter. But I rolled a success against Drive Auto, 174. The grinding noise you heard could of course indicate engine trouble, but they also seem consistent with bad gear selection and incorrect declutching. It seems highly unlikely that an experienced coach driver would suddenly get this wrong, even after a long day's drive. If this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, Silas will be sadly disappointed in your purchasing power. Not wrong, I've only got 20. Right, so I have now succeeded in the Drive Auto skill. So anytime you make a test against a skill and succeed, at the end of the adventure at the next appropriate level up phase, you'll get a chance to improve that skill. Go to 194. Right, Silas opens the engine compartment. Opens the engine compartment open. No, that's what it says, not just me reading bad. Silas opens the engine compartment and sticks his head inside. The hot metal pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws and wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. Grease, not grease. Dearest creature in creation. English is a hard language. Right, I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure. Might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools neither. And with the light failing, I reckon we'll be here through the night. He wipes his hands on a rag. Very useful, very wise in this day and age. The shadows from your surroundings are already long, and the air is chilly. You feel stiff from the journey, and a night in the rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This year's Emberhead, miles from any place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room, she'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how he stands. Right, so now we've got choices. I can follow his advice. Is he deliberately stopped here to make me spend money at the guest house? If so, do I just go for it? Do I ask him what he's up to? Or because I realise that he's been crunching the gears, I could challenge him about the breakdown. Now, in terms of what my character might do, I'm feeling a little bit passive on this one. I'm not really looking to start something. I do still want to get a lift at Arkham. I don't have a lot of money though. I'm going to ask Silas where he'll spend the night. You ask about Silas's plans. He gives the engine a sour glance before answering. I've got acquaintances here in the village. Reckon one of them owes me a favour. Enough for bread and breakfast in any case. He stares at his grubby hands. Probably won't stretch the hot bath. You don't seem to have a lot of options. You fetch your cases from the back of the motor coach. The last thing you need is for all your worldly possessions to disappear into some stranger's hovel overnight. 267. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary considering you've spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath a sign in a neat copper plate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. You're not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You rap on the weather-beaten door. Go to 4. Don't know why this isn't roughly in order. Right, after a moment you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and a rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your travelling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish lilt. Hello. Should I take it you're looking for a room for the night? You inquire as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the village does not offer you many alternatives. Oh, you'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea. The Leadbetter house feels cramped with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but is well kept and a cheerful fire crackles at the grate. The aroma of tea is soothing, and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Emberhead for the festival? Asks May. So do I want to know more about this festival? Or do I explain about Silas? I think in terms of a normal flow of conversation, I'm more likely to explain why I'm here, so 14. May shakes her head and you glimpse a moment of deep-seated anger in her green eyes. He always drives too fast. Thinks the road is made for him and him alone. He hit a mare some years back. That was a terrible thing. You should have seen the state of the coach. You'd be surprised at the damage done. She sips her tea and gazes past you, into the corner of the room. With living here, though, we can't afford to antagonise the man. He's about the only link we have to the world at large, and he's not a bad soul at heart. I suppose that going the same route for 15 years makes a man careless. You have to forgive him. May goes silent for a long moment, then her eyes flick back to you. But you didn't come here to hear me blather, and you must be hungry. I can rustle you up a bit of stew. How would that be? You ask again about her rates, and May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small but comfortable, and the stew dark and hearty. After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. So another thing about Call of Cthulhu is that money is not really tracked individually. You've got sort of a set allowance for the day. If you go over that, it can maybe come from your savings. But it's generally accepted that you can afford to live. Get your avocado toast and your chai lattes in the morning. Depending on your credit rating, even at 20, with low rates, I'll be able to afford a house for the night, and I don't have to track individual pounds or dollars in this case. Right, so my choices for the evening, with a couple hours to spare: talk to May, maybe find out a bit more about that festival. I could have a look around outside, see what's what, or I can go for an early night. Been sitting down in a truck all day, not likely to come back here, so I might as well go out and about and see what the town's like. So May's brow creases when you announce your intention to take a stroll. Mind how you go, she says. Emberhead's surrounded by cliffs, and we don't have your fancy street lamps here. Take the lantern and watch your step. Outside you see what she means. The sky's overcast and only a few glimmers of moonlight peek from the clouds. Without the heavy lantern you'd be walking in near total darkness. You cannot hope to get an overview of the village tonight. May Street is a narrow passage hemmed in by squat, dark dwellings. At the end, however, it opens up. A wide thoroughfare leads off to your right. A crude sign names it Silbury Street. To the left, a few yards away, your light picks up out the crooked posts of a simple fence, and beyond that, the ground drops away into darkness. You take a couple of steps closer, but you can see nothing. Air from below cools your face, then some instinct makes you look around. Oh, Piscarios. An ink-black figure stands in the road about 20 yards behind you. It stares at you. You form the sudden impression that it will run at you and throw you over the cliff edge. This is unsettling. Seeing it's been spotted, the figure slips down an alley. Right, so I'm going to go back to the B&B here, or go and confront the dark figure. Now, confronting the dark figure may be in line with my sort of journalist. Is there a story here? Who is this dark figure? I did say it wasn't confrontational. But as long as I can get away from the cliff edge, maybe it's worth finding out. Could just be a local. This is a local whatever for local people. Or go back to the house. Do you know what? I'm 50-50 on this one. I'm going to roll the dice. 51 plus, I will confront it. And 50 or under, I will Not. So under. So back to the house. Spooks me. I'm going back. Now the reason I did that, right? If you play a normal game, you made your own character, you got a better idea of who you are, what your motivations are, all this kind of thing. At the moment I'm still trying to figure out who my character is, so, you know, just took a punt. Right, you flee back down the narrow street, the lantern swinging in your grasp. You reach the door and pound it urgently. May is surprised to see you so soon. The air up here can tire you out if you're not used to it, she says. You glance back once before you close the door. The dark figure is standing against the wall at the end of the street, still staring at you. Or is it? The murk may be deceiving your eyes. You slide the heavy bolt into place. May has settled back into her chair, but now she blinks and yawns. I believe I'll turn in. When would you like to get your breakfast? 63. As May stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you can see is a wooden door, securely closed. May tuts. The young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guest. There's a short pause and the door creaks open. Two wide eyes peer at you from the gap between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. What do you say? The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you. Now get back to bed. The door closes again. My daughter Ruth. 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. It's a little chilly, but you're too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean and the bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long, but you soon drop off. You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colours shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they're tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscopic inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. It is quite cold. If you've taken any damage, you may heal 1 hit point back up for your night's sleep. So I have, so... Rub. Back up to 12 hit points. 166. May seems to have no running water, but has supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the washstand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30 you are paid up, packed and ready to go. You bid May goodbye and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. What a lovely lady. Right, if you succeeded at a skill roll last night and wish to investigate the results further... You succeeded in a skill roll last night. So I'm going to presume that's not the drive auto. I'm going to presume that was if I followed the man. So instead I'll go to 192. You're already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he might be, but the old driver seems to understand his vehicle well enough. You pause to check your watch, still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner. The motor coach is gone. You put your bags down and search the area, trekking up and down slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village you trace the long road back as it winds across the hills. Uh-oh, coronavirus. 8 o'clock comes and goes. There's no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, May Ledbetter rents a room. The man raises his hat to you and strolls onto the village. Thanks, fella. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts, but you wonder if the old goat has stranded you here on purpose. That's May Ledbetter there, is it? Not a bonny lass, is she? Right, so backed up to the house. May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forgot something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you could find somebody with a horse and cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. You'll know if anyone will. or among the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry, I won't see you sleeping in the street, money or no money. You thank me and turn to face the village. Well, after I bad-mouthed her, she's a lovely lady. Go to 6. Is this Emberhead here, is it? So you wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach to the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrived on the winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the 3 main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. It looms stark against the blue sky. Right, so I need to find alternative transport to Arkham. But if Silas only comes through a couple of times a week and he's pretty much their only outside contact, I'm not too optimistic. So structure, local people with their own transport, village hall. So what did May say? May said the mayor would know it, right? So I'm going to go to the village hall. The village hall backs against a cliff at the east end of Silbury Street. It's the largest building you've seen so far in Emberhead. It is, however, locked and shuttered. You walk around it, peering through gaps in the shutters. There seems to be one large room, presumably for community meetings, and a smaller annex that serves as an office and archive. One of the windows is bricked up. Back at the main door you can see no posted opening hours. Mr. Winters doesn't open up mornings this time of year, says a grey-garbed woman passing by. Best come back this afternoon. You ask whether the office has a telegraph. Don't know, she shrugs. Who would we call? You'll have to try again later. Okay, so that was a waste of a morning. No problem. You're beginning to get your bearings in Emberhead. Would you like to explore some more? Yes. You may choose another option from those below. Do not repeat the previous choice. Once you have tried 4 options, or if you're ready to move on, 3. So I've done 1. Let's try and find people with their own transport. Not far from the Ledbetter house on the north side of Silbury Street, there's an open courtyard. The rhythmic tattoo of a hammer seems to announce your approach. The courtyard is the busiest location you have yet seen in Emberhead. It is bordered by a ring of workshops. Some are brick buildings, some only rough huts. A blacksmith ceases to hammer, thrusting something red and glowing into a bucket of cold water. A weaver looks up from his loom, blinking at you for a moment before returning to his shuttle. A potter, engraver and carpenter each work in their own space, exchanging friendly banter. You move among the artisans, chatting about their work. Eventually you bring up the question of export. Some of them send occasional packages with Silas. Some restrict their custom entirely to villagers. You receive no suggestions about alternate transport. Make a psychology roll. Well, I can do that. It's 50. So 50 or less. 69, fail. Back to 25, which is the choices again. So I've done 2. No real hard. General store. General store seems reasonable. They must get goods in and out, right? The general store is on a corner beside the main road, just before it plunges to the south. The shopkeeper is a brisk, immense lady with starched apron and strong shoulders. She looks hard at your unfamiliar face. Transport? There's a motor coach comes through twice a week. Missed it? Truck brings in my supplies every second Tuesday, but he's not due until next week. She shrugs. It seems Emberhead is content to keep its distance from the outside world. You have enough money to buy 1 or 2 inexpensive everyday items here. Note them down on your investigator sheet. Right, no weapons except the hunting knife, which you may purchase if you want. Sure, I'll buy a knife. Why not? So put that in there. Hunting knife. But primarily I'm going to use that to open some tins of beef and stuff. Beef? Or beans? So let's get some beans. Maybe some bread. and anything else that I'd probably want. Wander around all day, need to look after myself. Had a meal for breakfast, probably get my dinner at the Leadbetters. No, just enough for sort of lunch, I guess. Will do me there, and the knife's really to open the beans. So, back to 25, so that's 3 places I've been now. I mean, I could check out the Eastern Road here. Like, where does it go? Does it get me out of town? There's another town nearby? Maybe there's a farm out there with a tractor. Yeah, because the guy with the tractor was out on the road, so maybe there's some place to go. Sure, I'll check out the Eastern Road. The air is fresh and walk down the lower ridge invigorating. You notice cultivated fields stretching through the lowlands around Emberhead, and among the crops some livestock but no horses. Are you going to have to make your onward journey on foot? Further down the road skirts the edge of the ridge and descends. There are a few scattered hovels here with signs of habitation. They are set a substantial distance apart. As you examine them, a door opens, and an older man steps out. He wears a bedraggled suit, but carries a piece of cloth which he tosses over his head like a hood. As he does this, he sees you and freezes. Make a luck roll. So my luck is 50, so again I need under 50. Oh, these are sort of 50-50 rolls. 68, fail again. 135. The strange man breaks into a run, fleeing from you along the ridge. His gait is lopsided, but his movements have a maniacal intensity. Was he the guy who was watching me last night? Do I chase him? Or is like, if you have better things to do, turn to 160? Well, I don't. This is the last thing I can do. So, afternoon's coming in. I'm like, what does this guy know that he's running away from me, or is he just a crazy person? I'm going to chase him. You break from the road and pursue the man, feeling wild grass snatch at your feet. He sprints around the ridge, attempting to elude you behind the very rocks that support the metal structure high above. To catch the man, you must make an opposed roll with your dexterity versus his. The man has a dexterity of 38. Yep, fine. So make the man's dexterity roll. Son of a gun. Right, so he's got a hard success. And then I have a dexterity of 50, and I fail, so I lose the opposed roll. This is not going well. 87. You round an outcrop to find the man has disappeared. The ridge extends much further to the west, and the outer edge leads to a dangerous drop. You have lost him. So I can make a hard spot hidden roll. Now, my spot hidden is 60, so a hard roll for me would be 30. Might as well. Failed again. Right, yeah, no idea where he's gone, but now I'm starting to get my interest peaked. This is a weird little town, weird people watching me, weird things going on when people see me. So you turn back to the road and your core business, getting out of Emberhead and onward to Ossipine. The ridge gives you a good viewpoint from which you can see the course of the road. It winds with the hills, disappearing into woodland for a while before emerging further on. You lose sight of it somewhere towards the second patch of woodland. By your best estimation, there's at least 6 or 7 miles distant. You see no other settlements or traffic. It may be worth taking a chance and walking. The weather is still mild, but you'll need supplies before you attempt it. Right, that's all of the places gone. Tried 4. Back to 3. Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. Well, I bought some beans. There's nothing resembling the busy cafes of your hometown, or anything that might be called a restaurant. It's beginning to look like you'll have to get supplies from the general store. When May Leadbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. This must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature of last night. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arm up in celebration. She looks up into your eyes. Abruptly the smile drops from her face and she looks several years older. "Get out before the festival," she hisses. "Get out!" She blinks hard and scuttles back towards her mother. Creepy little kids. May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders. She smiles. "How are you getting on? Have you found transport?" Startled, you explain the frustrations of the situation. "I try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in the afternoon." "You'll be hungry by now. Help yourself to any food in the house. The door's not locked." You glance at Ruth, where she squirreled herself behind her mother's leg. Her eyes implore you to silence. If you ask Ruth about what she said, if she asks me about what she said, I think I know when to keep my mouth shut. Maybe I'll get a chance to speak to Ruth later. I say nothing. You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view to the mountains. If you've learned one thing this morning, it was that Emberhead streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town. But there's still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage, or set out in the hope of reaching another settlement before dark. Or you could ask advice from this Mr. Winters. Get out before the festival, that little kid said. Mr. Winters could have a car or know how to get out of here. Maybe access to even a horse or something. Or a cart, horse and cart. I'm probably a little spooked. No, wait, I've got a good... My power's 80, right? So my sanity's 80. I'm not spooked by nonsense. But I think I'm smart enough to realise that something's going on. And that I probably don't want to be here. So I'm going to walk out of town. Or prepare to walk out of town. You take money, water and some sandwiches. It seems polite to leave May Ledbetter a note explaining the situation, and that you will return for your bags as soon as possible. The sky is flecked with cloud, but so shows no sign of imminent rain. Whatever. A couple of villagers watch as you descend on the southern road and follow it around to the east. The black metal structure looms on the promontory above. I don't know what a promontory is. I'm going to Google what a promontory is. Excuse me. Right, it's a raised mass of land that projects into a lowland or body of water. Can I picture it? Like a cliff edge, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think, learned a little something. You shiver as you pass the lower huts and head out of Emberhead. After the miserable enclosed streets of Emberhead, you're refreshed by the open air and sense of progress. An hour later, however, the empty road ceases to be a novelty. You've just entered the first patch of woodland when you hear an eerie, lilting howl from the north. Oh, Scarios. Is it like a wolf howl? Spoopy. Make a natural world roll. Oh, I did take natural world. Cool. So that's 30. 4. Boom. Absolutely nailed it. That would be not. Yeah, that'd be an extreme success of 30, right? 6. I succeeded. What kind of howl was it? The call is that of a coyote, common in this area. The sound can be frightening, particularly at night, but coyotes have learned to avoid humans. You can proceed without fear. So because I succeeded, I get a check on that later. That's cool. Now go to 54. A second call answers the first, but it sounds further away. You follow the road through woodlands. Branches lean over the road. The foliage is quite beautiful, from gold to russet and a deep rich red. Fallen leaves crunch beneath your feet. After about half an hour you emerge from the trees. The road makes a lazy curve around foothills ahead into another patch of woodland. A rough track seems to offer a shortcut through the woods. Right, so I could head up the hill to see if I can find somewhere else to go. I could try the track, or I could stick to the safety of the road. Now, let's assume Silas wasn't a total knobber and did go for parts. He might be coming back, so I'll stick to the safety of the road. There's no guarantee that the tracks lead back to the road you're following. Better stay on course, even if it takes longer. But you're uncomfortably aware of the sun setting behind you as you walk on. 15 minutes later, you're passing a natural clearing when you catch movement out of the corner of your eye. About 30 yards away, something large lingers at a trunk. It's about your height and black, with small rounded ears. As you watch, it rears up on its hind legs. A bear! It seems most interested in the fruit hanging above it. What kind of bear? You run away from black bears and charge down a brown... Well, you don't charge down a bear, but stand your ground against a black bear. I will make a deliberate slow retreat. I don't really want to catch his attention, but if it's looking at the fruit... Yeah, let's just back off. You've heard that bears are not aggressive, but why take the chance when you're alone miles from help? You move away with careful, quiet steps. The bear shows no interest in you at all. Go to 79. You return to the road and resume your walk east. At least you hope you're still heading east. The curves of the road become disorienting when the light begins to fade. Clouds hide the stars. It seems you will not reach another settlement before dark, and you feel weariness in your legs. The air is much cooler now. Make a hard listen roll. So listen for me is 40, a hard roll is 20 or less. Ah, so close. Oh! Now, an optional rule, which some let you do and some don't, is you can spend luck to permanently reduce your luck, but to reduce the value on the thingy. So I'm going to use that rule. Doesn't say I can't. So I'm going to reduce my luck by 1 to make that and put my starting luck there. To make that a 20 and pass. Like every other roll's been terrible, so I will do that. 240. You hear something from the road behind you. It's a dull clunk, perhaps a dead branch falling. You pause, but the sound does not repeat. You retrace a few paces and look down the road. There's nothing to see. I can make a mark on listen. 2, what was it? 2, 3, 4. Is that right? I didn't make a note. I think it was 2, 3, 4. Another cry splits the gloom. It's the same unearthly call you heard when you entered the first patch of woodlands, but this time with a grating undertone that makes you shiver. It seems closer. Take refuge in a tree for the night. Now, can coyotes climb? If nothing else, they can wait me out, or I could fall. I mean... I'm gonna keep going. I don't want to spend the night in a tree, tell you that much. Unappealing as it is to keep walking through the dark, the idea of hiding up a tree while wild animals congregate to plan your slaughter is even less appealing. Correct. Sooner or later, this road must lead you to another settlement. You step up the pace. The eerie howl draws closer. They come from either side. One calls, and the answer is a grim chorus, thick and hungry. They have a strange, desperate edge. Getting closer. Do I have any other howls? Nope. You're walking as fast as you can now. You hear your own breath coming hard. The trees in this area are too young to support your weight. Perhaps you should just run, but how long could you run before you had to stop? A clump of low, dark bodies slink from the trees, blocking the road ahead. Each silhouette has high, pointed ears. Their eyes glint in the moonlight. What is this? A pack of beasts? They don't look like coyotes very much at all. Make a sanity roll. So, my sanity is decent at 80. 28, smashed it. If you succeed, 269. Even as the beasts fan out around you and black fear rises in your chest, you sense something is wrong here. The pack makes irritable, awkward movements, not the patient, predatory approach you might expect. They draw closer, circling you. You hear the rasp of their throats, smell their thick, musky scent. They burst into flame. What? You gape, fumes filling your mouth and nostrils as the creatures ignite. Eyes wild, their fur blazes, waves of red-tinged fire dripping from their slavering jaws. They howl, a woeful cacophony, and one springs at you with insane burning eyes. You stagger back, gulping the choking vapours, and you fall. So I lose 1 sanity point. Go to 13. Although I've got a hunting knife. The skin of your face feels warm. There's a mattress beneath you. You blink against the sunlight. A blurred figure swims in your vision. You're awake. It's May. May Ledbetter. I don't think I could get out of this little village. Oh, there's too many. Excuse me. You shift and pain racks your body. You feel bruised and your head throbs. May comes into focus. You're lucky to be alive. A farmer found you in the small hours lying by the road. Patched you up and brought you back on his cart. Said you were in the middle of the woods somewhere. Best take it easy today. I'll look in on you later. The farmer and his cart are long gone, of course. You snooze for a little longer. Now that does sound like me. You've received first aid while unconscious. Can heal a point, but that's fine. The Leadbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There's a note from May explaining that she's taken Ruth out for a few hours. I was not involved in the fight. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. It's rather busy for this time in the morning. Yawning locals stream back and forth along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what you've heard referred to as the beacon. You see two figures already up in its superstructure arranging the wood. The festival bonfire will be most impressive. But do you intend to stay to see it? You suspect by now that something is amiss here. While the villagers are distracted, you may do some illicit investigation, or you may simply leave town without looking back. Search May Leadbetter's bedroom. I don't really... Other than the fact I woke up there, which is weird, but I was attacked by weird flaming dogs. Do that. Go alone to the village hall. Go alone to the village hall. So does that mean that people are out and about and I can have a look around? Maybe they've got some place to... a telephone or a telegram? Take a closer look at the artisan's courtyard. Don't think I've got much reason on that. Spy on activity at the beacon, or slip down the east road and flee for good. I am super keen to get out of here. I think that's now my motivation. Whilst I think there is a story here, it's not a story I wish to be a part of. So I am looking for an exit. That is what my motivations are now. As you approach the southern road that descends to the lower ridge, you see 4 villagers blocking the route with farm tools and clubs. You veer off and head towards the west road. Your heart sinks as you see exactly the same scene at the other exit from the village. You're trapped. So I could try and top my way past, slip one in disguise, or do you know another way to leave the village? I do not. So in terms of... I've got Persuade... But why are they blocking the roads? I mean, okay, right, it's all going a bit Wicker Man. I know that. My character, Edward here. Edward Lindstrom's never seen the Wicker Man. Be it, you know, Michael Caine or... Michael Caine? Edward Woodward. Calm down. Edward Woodward or Nicolas Cage version. I will try and slip... I didn't take disguise, did I? No, so I guess I'm going to have to... I'll try and persuade my way out. Oh, fast talk, it's not even a good one. The southern group appears less sharp than the western group. You stride up to them and explain they are needed at the beacon. They look dubious. You offer to watch the road for them and hold out your hand for a pitchfork. Nah, you come with us, says the first one. His ape-like brow bends into a frown. Make an extreme fast talk, so my only chance of making this is rolling a 1. That is not a 1. If you fail, go to 139. These locals are not as stupid as you think. They grab you and march you back to the centre of the village. The fading light from a narrow window tells you the afternoon is giving way to evening. Your hands are shackled behind your back so you cannot even lie down on the rough bed. A woman you've not seen before comes in. Her face is wrinkled and her eyes dull. They did not meet yours, but she puts a cup to your lips. Oh, I wasn't not going to drink, but the fact you've given me the choice of rejecting it. It's kind of been all day though. I suppose I didn't put myself in that position. Some strange... I've been captured. They're giving me a drink. Yes, I'll drink it. Oh, it's there. I could have cheated and looked. You drink from the cup. It holds cool, refreshing water, which you gulp down. When it's empty, she turns to leave. You speak to her, but she steps outside and closes the door. Later, you try yelling. Your voice must be audible outside, but has no effect. It seems the entire village is involved. As the light fades outside, your little prison becomes dark. You can hear much activity around the building. Occasionally an orange glow passes the window. The only comfortable position in the shackles seems to be to sit against the end of the bed with your arms hanging behind you. You need to concentrate and come up with a plan. There's clearly no escape from your bonds. You do not know exactly what your captors want from you, but you cannot ignore the fact they've spent the entire day constructing a massive bonfire. The door scrapes, wrenching you back into the moment. Orange light spills into the house from blazing torches held at the threshold. 2 large villagers step in and grab you. At least you assume they're villagers. They wear heavy black cloaks, and their faces and hands are painted entirely black, save only for a red triangle centred on their left eye. You try to drag your legs, but they reach under your arms and lift you bodily from the bed. Outside, it seems the whole village is congregated to see you. Every single one has a blackened face with a red triangle motif. Torches sputter and spill fire. You struggle, but you can see physical resistance is hopeless. You are marched to the central street and turn to face the beacon. The procession down the approach is slow and formal, save when you sense weakness and yank at your captors. A chill touches you when you see 3 human shapes carried ahead of you, draped in red cloth. The beacon looms larger and larger, its dreadful silhouette a black triangle pointing to the stars. A low drone begins among the cloaked figures. Unbidden, the word mourners comes to mind. Smoke from their torches make you cough. You feel heat on your face. As you reach the cleared area around the beacon, 3 dancers break from the pack. Young girls swinging balls of fire in spectacular arcs, drawing circles in the night air. One by one they draw close to you and touch your forehead with sooty fingers. Each kisses you 3 times, on the left cheek, the right cheek, then forehead. Then they whisper in your ear. The smell of kerosene fills your nostrils. Make an appearance roll. Well, here's where I wish I was prettier, but 50. Failed again. This has been one of the worst adventures ever. I did not succeed. If you fail, go to 148. Ah, 148's not been linked. No problem. We can scroll to it the old-fashioned way. Nope. A little bit trickier though. Through your sacrifice, the village will be reborn, says the first dancer. You pass from earth to air for all our sakes, says the second. Through incandescence may you find rapture, says the third. Their dance weaves off and disappears behind the buildings. As you arrive beneath the beacon, 10 villagers close in on you. Working with surprising coordination, they immobilise you and lift you up the blackened iron stairs to the raised platform. You cannot help but shiver at the sight of the central framework, twisted from past blazes, and what you can now see clearly to be fastening points for chains. None of the eyes meet yours as they lash you to the metal. The village sings now, something rhythmic and ancient, carved from odd syllables. A second group ascends to the beacon, carrying the 3 red draped bodies. With reverence, they arrange their burdens in a triangle around your feet. Then they withdraw, leaving you alone and with their dead, shin deep in the sea of kindling. It seems the entire village is gathered around the beacon to watch you burn. Behind the face paint you recognise May Ledbetter, and yes, that is Silas, the coach driver, standing at her side. The audacity and scale of the deception staggers you. A man steps up on a dais and raises his hands with quiet authority. The frame of his spectacles obscures the red triangle on his face. So we draw here together again on this night, as we do each year, and we give thanks to the one who will preserve the village against the fire of the void. You'll be taken by the ones from above in our stead. Your death will bring life to our streets and bounty to our fields. It will safeguard our children and our elders alike for another year. We salute you. He bows his head. All around the beacon, bearers step forward and lift their torches to the edge of the raised platform. A ring of tiny flames flicker up around the perimeter. As they wink, the singing of the villagers drops into an unearthly rhythm. Right, so throw all my remaining strength against the bonds or wait and see what happens. Right, they're setting me on fire. It's all Wicker Man. It's the Wicker Man. It's the Wicker Man. So I'm going to see if I can get out of here. You're tired and your flesh ought to be insufficient against the dark iron of the chains. Yet you can feel them give a little. There is weakness in one of the links. Make a hard strength roll. What are the chances of me hitting a 20? Do you know what? This is probably 100. 65. Brilliant. If you fail, go to 40. The flames snake across the kindling, catching and rising. Smoke rises and it becomes difficult to see the villagers. The 3 bodies surrounding you catch fire, blazing with sooty red flames. You begin to cough as the smoke enters your lungs and fight down the urge to panic. If you have learned a strange chant and wish to try it, this is the moment. Otherwise, go to 65. Flames lick at your legs. Your eyes water. You are shrouded in smoke. It might be your imagination, but you think you can feel a slight give in the chains. You throw yourself into them, giving no thoughts to how they bite into your wrists. Take 1d6 points of damage. So d6. Wait, hold on. Clear. d6. Roll. So take 4 points of damage, which is not insignificant. That's like a third of my points. Not burned to death. Otherwise, make a strength roll. So just a standard strength roll. Gives me 40 here. So let's remove you again. D100. 2! An absolute extreme success. What a time to pull this out. Succeed goes to 93. Desperation lends you strength and you yank at what you guess to be the weak point in the chain. It breaks! You throw the chain off, stumbling across one of the red-shrouded corpses, heading away from the watching villagers. You cough, your hair and eyebrows smoulder. Take 1d6 points of damage. Okay, let's... d6. 5 points of damage. Now, I'm down to 3, and in an ordinary situation, that would give me a more serious wound, but the game doesn't really account for that. This solo player game doesn't have a full set of rules, right? Right, you leap from the conflagration on the far side of the beacon. Your heart lurches momentarily at the sight of the sheer drop beneath you, but you land a few inches short of the edge. You roll to extinguish your burning clothes. Your lungs feel singed, everything hurts. The chant of the villagers gathers in intensity. You peer around the beacon. They don't seem to have noticed your absence amidst the billowing smoke. Most of them are staring into the sky. You crawl as rapidly as you can for the cover of the nearest building. With the villagers assembled at the beacon, the streets are empty, and you're able to pad away from the blaze. You must get out of town before they finish. The chanting seems to accelerate as you round the corner of the southern road. Here, parked against the side of the general store, you have your first piece of luck since reaching Emberhead, a bicycle. You learn to ride one of these in Providence. You settle into the saddle, your burned flesh protests at the contact. There's no chance I'm waiting for this. Like, just absolutely no chance. I am out of here. They just tried to burn me alive. It takes a moment to recapture the skill of riding the bicycle, but after the first turn to the east, there's a long downhill out of Emberhead. You hear screams and crackles above you, but concentrate on balancing and working the pedals in your weakened state. You've had too many hopes dashed in this abomination of a village. You keep your head down and ride away. 20 minutes later, with no signs of pursuit, you stop for a breather at the top of a hill. You can see Emberhead rise in the distance. The entire village appears to be ablaze. The dark column of smoke above it will be visible for many miles, but if the village is as isolated as it seems, help is unlikely to arrive. You watch the place burn for 5 minutes, then you might mount your bicycle again and ride towards civilization and dawn. Right, survived! Woo! So I can keep the character, use him again, and have a chance to improve my skills through experience. But the end. So that was a far, far worse ending than the first time I went through it. Very, very different. The routes I took there, almost completely different from the first time I played. Well worth the replay. Survived, which is a bonus. Then it gives you a character. Now you've got a story. Now you've got a bit of history. You built up as you went along. A good way of just kind of getting into it. I've got all my stats now. If I wanted to use it again, I would, but since I'm the keeper, when am I ever going to get a chance to play a character, right? the sadness of the keeper. That was kind of the game, you know. As I said, this isn't sort of the full set of rules. There's only so much you can do versus the book. In the real game, you know, the keeper and the players can all kind of work together to make things more interesting. Do things that are a little bit more out of the ordinary. You know, if you fail a roll in the main game, you can push your luck. So that's not spending luck, but if you can come up with another way of doing something. So let's say those thugs that were keeping me trapped in Tim. I wanted to. I failed my fast talking, and I was like, okay, well, this time I want to, instead of sending them up to the triangle burny thing, maybe I drop a name in. I'll say, oh, I know the only character I met in this adventure was May Ledbetter, right? But maybe I remember the name of the mayor, and I say, oh, the mayor said this, and you know, something to give me another go at it. If I fail that, bad things happen. Far worse than, well, not that it could be much worse than getting captured, but I could have been hit. I could have been hit for 3 hit points, and that might have, you know, they might knock me out to take me away, and I would have been burnt alive in the Wicker Man. But it gives a pretty good feel for the game. There's probably 2 or 3 other routes to take during the day that I never saw, and from the time I did previous. So the previous time I chased the man in the street, you know, I got a bit more investigating done during the afternoon. I didn't try and walk away. Never encountered those hounds the first time. Don't know, Hounds of Tindalus, is that what they are? Who knows? But there's probably another couple of plays in this until I see everything. I can make different characters. I like making characters based on the stats and just kind of my actions when doing this. If you're playing a normal game, you can have your whole character planned out from the start, make your stats reflect the attributes that you want, kind of thing, or the characteristics of your PC. That's kind of it. So hopefully I'll get a bit of company. Maybe we'll play another one of these. Alone Against the Frost I've got, never played that at all, so probably give that one a go, and if I get somebody with me. If not, I'll try streaming it, maybe get a few people in chat to help me make some of the decisions, we'll see how that kind of goes as well. But until next time, this is Fear of the Unknown. Did I have a sign off? Well, I'm just logging off, right? Bye!